Hey guys, Jira Bro here. I'm gonna speak a little bit lower because I'm kind of went undercover on Reddit and asked users what what do I actually don't really like. Well, don't really like. What is something that Atlassian can actually work on in the future? This is not something that I'm like downgrading Atlassian or something like that. No, this is like the collecting information on what are the frustrations and pain points of the everyday users. Me, for example, the lack of reports within Jira. So, yeah, when I was actually working as the PM before, Scrum burn down was actually good, but it kind of felt that that it was kind of basic, and you were kind of limited to the reports that you're having. But let's get down to it. So the first one is the multi-project automation rules can only be done by instance admins instead of project admins. Multi-project automation rules. I'm not sure what this actually means. Multi-project automation rules. Is this like one rule, one project with multiple automation rules, or more projects and more automation rules? I'm kind of confused. All right. So it's saying all reliance on paid third-party plugins for core functionality. Um, this really depends on how you're using Jira, and there are a lot of people out there that were actually saying that Jira is already overcomplicated and such. At first glance, it might look like it because you have a lot of things going on. You have boards, you have projects, you have assignees, you have comments, you have what is the epic, what is the story, where the user stories, where are the tasks, and everything like that. Sure, it may be like that when you're for the first time there and basically you're exploring. But if you know that your position is going to require you to actually use your either if you're a developer, either if you're in the HR, either if you're in the finance, IT support, doesn't actually matter. You should already be, creating a test instance for yourself, trying all of the possible issues, creating the issues, assigning the issues, changing the priorities of the issues, the issue types, going into the admin stuff, and doing things like that. Really depends what kind of role you are in. So, and then this user asks, and they're right. The core functionality does the vast majority of stuff without the plugins. So first comes the time tracking. Okay, so this is focused on the requirements of corporate governance and the compliance. And it's saying that you either need to make your own integration or to use stuff like Tempo. Okay, but then again, for time tracking, you have the things that you need. You can log the time within the issues that you're actually working on. And you also have the estimates right there. And you're logging the time based on the hours, based on the days, based on the weeks. Doesn't matter. But the core functionality of time tracking is there. Then, if you want to have some extensions, then you use Tempo. And it goes on. So customization. Okay. All right, that's interesting. Basic configuration changes. Like the request to be able to rename groups has been tracked by Atlassian for over 20 years now. You can change it directly through it for an SQL query on the database, which is not recommended, or pay a few $100s per year for a plugin that allows just that. The ability to assign issues to groups has been requested for over 10 to assign issues to groups. Oh, this is interesting. But the whole idea of having the assignee field as a single user then loses that point. If you're gonna have and if you're gonna assign the issue to the group, first of all, who is gonna be responsible within that group? I mean, everyone is going to be responsible, right? And what if someone is not working on that issue at all and the others are actually working? That means that person that was not working on that issue didn't have effort at all, which is something that loses the sense. So, and saying like it's in Kicks, I don't know what this is, or ServiceNow. Okay. Project configuration export. What I will build and test on dev instance, we need to manually rebuild on the production system which is lengthy and error prone. And there is like project configurator that allows to do some of the stuff. Okay. Yeah. There are a lot of interesting stuff in here. Okay. What else do we have? Everything about how statuses work. It's a good ground up the redesign, and the thing is, what was asked in here was what do you mean about this? Okay. Google Kanban. Okay. But exclude Jira from your results. What you will field is hierarchies of status and ways to show done in a given substatus, so the next one knows it's ready to start. This is the basis of lean and the other flow methods. One level, which then makes you to choose if it's a good one for your team, a group of teams, an organization, but it never is good for more than one group you choose. Stop allowing multiple statuses with the same name. Multiple statuses with the same name, you cannot have that. This right here, you cannot create a status that already has the same name. I would say that this right here is false. Okay, so cannot tag two or more assignees. It loses the point. That's right. That's right. Automatic request type to issue type mapping when creating an issue. This is for the JSM. Okay. Issue type mapping when create the issue. Automatic request type mapping to the issue type. How do you know? How do you know that? And when you create request type, okay, the very first thing the JSM asks you, what issue type is going to be tied with the request type, and it's a required field. You cannot go above that. Okay. Only 3 status colors. I believe what they mean, it's the gray, it's the blue, and it's the green. And I actually saw this in other posts actually, and it's interesting to have that, right? So that is kind of interesting right there. Okay. Third-party add-ons required for proper email integration. I don't know what this actually means, to be quite honest. I don't know. Okay. Not being able to easily preset categories inside a project. New ones can be added or deleted when editing a category field for a task inside the list view, as far as I know. Easily preset categories inside of a project. New ones can only be added or deleted. New ones. Preset categories inside of a project. Okay, so this is for the project categories. You create a project category, and then you can either delete the project category and you can put your project within that category. So basically, when it's within the category, you can use the JQL more easier to fetch all the projects that are within that category. And preset categories. Don't know what this means. I don't know if this is like you have preset categories. Okay, I see what they mean. Like templates, right? So if it's like development, in goes to the development. If it's like for the business category, goes to the business category. If it's like for SaaS, goes into SaaS. CRM goes to CRM, and so on and so forth. So that is kind of interesting. Okay, that's interesting to have, right? Like drop down where you can actually choose all of that. Okay, almost like it's not like a template, but already a value. Okay. Not being able to filter according to the value of a parent without a marketplace app. To value of parent according to the value of parent without a marketplace app. Interesting. Not being able to translate the start date custom field. Navigating to the administration page. Why does it feel tricky to find all the billing related info? I don't know what this means. I don't know what this means actually. It's not something that is hard to do. I mean, you go here, you go to your administration, and when you go to your administration, you go here, select your, there you go, or within the billing. I don't know which part they actually mean, not sure. Not being able to set the default view that can be shared with members of the list page in a project. Interesting point right there, because I saw this in some of the community posts as well, to have that default view. Interesting take. Not being able to assign marketplace app licenses per user. Okay. And some are actually saying that the new UI, it's kind of harder for them. Okay. Uh, Fixed versions being locked to a single project. Hmm, that's kind of interesting. Yeah, because for labels, they're global, but fixed versions, they're tied to each project. But when you think about it, it's kind of, you know, um, maybe even logical to be in that way. Because then the question is, if the fixed versions are not for, if they're not project based, then the question is, okay, how then you're gonna track those fixed versions if they're not project based? How are you gonna track them globally? The bug where searching on a specific value in labels component fields will not pull up issues where the labels or component field is empty. And this has been around for over a decade. This is what they're actually saying. But they're not defining if this is cloud or data center. Okay, will not pull up issues where the label component field is empty. Um, why would why would why would it do it like that? Label labels equal risk. And it's turning the labels that are having the risk clubs. Why you would show the empty ones if you're actually searching for the issues that are having the labels that are defined as risk? I'm not agreeing with this. Inconsistence on default search using whatever text enter in the search bar when the text is clearly JQL. Okay. The over reliance on third party for basic functionality. Again, I guess everyone has a different take on how what actually means to have a basic functionality. Um, the fact that Trello and Jira do not have a two-way sync in their automation, despite of Atlassian owning both. Okay, this is interesting because yes, Bitbucket and Trello are actually kind of they're owned by Atlassian, but they're kind of isolated in there, right? So that's interesting, and also this is interesting for the automation syncing. So many UX inconsistencies. Edit isn't always edit. View isn't always view. It changes from artifact to artifact. Well, actually, I only saw one where there's like the work content, right, and then you have the issue. That is the only thing that I have right, and this guy's saying seriously. All right, so dynamic fields. I don't understand why it's huge hassle to work around. I've tried the plugin and it's still not doing what I need. Free status categories. Yeah, a couple more would be insanely helpful. and it's saying that it's not built with primary user in mind, developers. No. Jira is not only for developers. And it's even stating with this merging of Jira Work Management with Jira, because the goal now is not only to have the developers as the main users of Jira. First of all, it's a project management tool, so project managers use it. Sure, developers use it as well, but now you also have the business teams. You have the HR that is using it. You have the IT teams that are using Jira. They're using the Jira Service Management, but the Jira Service Management is within the Jira family of products. So yeah, with some of the things I can agree, but of course with some of things I disagree. And yeah, that was Jira Bro going undercover on Reddit. Don't tell anyone. Alright, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.